Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Kripa.
I'm Samiksha Srivastava. It's a packed lineup in this edition of World DNA. From the brink of conflict to the negotiating table yet again. It's President Donald Trump who now says that US and Iran will hold talks on Monday. And this is after he claimed that he called off an imminent strike to give negotiations a chance. This while also insisting that Iran must quickly move to the negotiating table.
Also on the show today, deadly strikes are escalating between Russia and Ukraine with at least 14 killed in both sides in a surge of long-range attacks. Kyiv and Moscow are trading blows deep inside each other's territory, even hitting military, energy and civilian targets. All that and much more. First, a quick look at the headlines.
It was going to be a massive attack. It was going to be attacked, but would have been by far the biggest attack since World War II.
President Donald Trump says talks with Iran will resume on Monday after he claimed to call off a massive attack on the country over the weekend.
According to Iran state media, the foreign minister says negotiations between Iran and Oman over Strait of Hormuz are in final stages. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says negotiations with Oman are aimed at finding a mutual mechanism in Strait of Hormuz.
At least 14 people killed as Russia and Ukraine continue to exchange strikes. Ukrainian attacks on Russia killed at least 9 people on Sunday, while Russian attacks on Ukraine killed as many as 5 people.
Spanish officials say at least 72 people died during the recent mass influx of migrants into its Ceuta exclave from Morocco, while Moroccan officials present a lower figure of just 11 deaths.
A suicide bombing has killed at least 15 people in Pakistan's Swat Valley. The bomber struck outside a police station in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province while hundreds of people were taking part in a protest march.
Flood situation in Assam remains serious with over 135,000 people currently affected in 5 districts. At least 85 people have died so far due to the calamity.
Fast-moving walls of fame peer through Spokane in Washington state, destroying houses and prompting mass evacuations in one of the city's worst natural disasters.
Out of focus on World DNA today, US President Donald Trump says negotiations with Iran will resume on Monday.
Well, the apparent de-escalation between Iran and the US follows days of threats of new attacks from each side. With this, oil prices fell on Monday after Trump announced that the new negotiations would take place. And Trump's latest claim also came a day after he said he had called off a planned attack to pursue a deal to halt Iran's nuclear ambitions and also to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The president claimed he was asked by Iran as well as partners Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar to hold off the strikes.
It was going to be a massive attack. It was going to be attacked, but would have been by far the biggest attack since World War II. but they've asked us not to do it. They said, please don't do it. And their neighbors said that too. And so we're just going to see whether or not we can make a deal for the denuclearization.
Iranian state media has denied that Tehran asked for the attacks to be called off or has changed its stance on the waterway. But an Iranian lawmaker said that mediators were seeking to revive a deal that briefly halted the war in June.
Hassan Ghashkhavi, who's the spokesperson for Parliament's National Security Commission, said there is an effort underway to revive the 14-point agreement by the mediators.
Iran has said it is nearing a deal with Oman over a new route through the strait, but it has also insisted that such an agreement did not mean the reopening of the strait. Iran's foreign ministry also underlined that the Strait of Hormuz will in no way return to the status it was before February 28, the date that the war began.
Well, with this, maritime trade tracking data shows traffic through Hormuz Strait has dropped significantly. U.S. Central Command said that it has redirected 35 as many as 35 commercial vessels, disabled 2 and boarded 2 since the renewed U.S. naval blockade of Iran took effect. That was on 14th of July.
Now, according to the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations, a tanker off the coast of Oman reported hearing an explosion near the vessel on Sunday. But the vessel and the crew members, they were all safe. To discuss more, we are now being joined live by military expert Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis from Sterling, Virginia. Welcome to the broadcast, Lieutenant. We know President Trump says he called off major strikes, and this at the request of what he calls the 3 primary groups. And he's referring to Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar, the same Saudi Arabia that still refuses to normalize ties with Israel without a path to Palestinian statehood. So what should we look at? Is Washington now listening to its Arab partners even more than Israel?
Well, it certainly was on this case, and rightfully so, because Israel was not going to be hit in a retaliation if President Trump had gone through with his strike as big as what he claimed it was in that soundbite you just showed, which he said was going to hit energy infrastructure, electric power generation, maybe even knocked out all the power for Iran. That's one of the objectives that was listed as a possibility. Of course, oil facilities, etc. Stuff that Iran said, if you attack, we will immediately fire back at all the GCC countries. Everybody who has been on your ally on this side, we will strike back and hit the same type of targets. And they put out a target list earlier this week where they talked about exactly which facilities in which countries that they would hit, some of which were Saudi Aramco, which were some of their most vital reprocessing and oil production facilities that they have. And if those things get hit and destroyed, it could literally set them back years to try and recover to the pre-war norms. And so the Saudi Arabians are saying, don't do this, because look, there was no possibility that even hitting Iran that hard was going to cause them to collapse. It was going to cause their government to surrender. It was going to open the Strait of Hormuz. It would have done none of those things, but it would have added more pain and harm to our allies in the region. And I think that they really put a lot of pressure on President Trump not to do that, because it couldn't help, but it would hurt a lot. And in that same interview that you showed a bit of right there, he even acknowledged that there could be, second and third order effects or unintended consequences, and it would harm people. So it seems that that message did get through.
Yes, sir, point taken. And in fact, in continuation with the point you mentioned regarding Strait of Hormuz, do you think Trump has probably realized that all of this is a lost cause now? There have been pressure points. In your opinion, what have been those sticking points that pushed President Trump to the negotiating table, whether it's the global supply disruption, the Strait of Hormuz, or even the pressure that he has been facing from the GCC countries, and of course not to forget the November midterm elections?
Yeah, going back to the 2-month blockade. I think President Trump listened to some of his advisors who said, hey, maybe a blockade will cause so much pressure and pain on the Iranian side that they'll capitulate and they'll give in. So he said, well, let's give that a try. Took a couple of months. It kept the strait closed, but it didn't cause any specific military damage to any of our allies in the region. Gave us a chance to rearm, recuperate some of our military facilities, etc., bring more ammunition into theater. Then came the signing of the MOU because President Trump recognized, all right, the 2 months of the blockade is not going to work. It's going to hurt us more than it's going to hurt Iran. So on June 17th, he signed that, and he made the comment at the time that he realized that our strategic petroleum reserve was running low and that he didn't want to be President Hoover administering over a depression, national or global depression. He realized what was at risk. But then it seems he kind of forgot that, or else he allowed somebody to talk into his ear and tell him, no, more military power will work. And then they tried that 13-day consecutive strikes. That didn't accomplish anything. And then now he had to come to the grips that either you had to escalate further and go in an even bigger path, or he's going to have to just agree to some kind of negotiated term. And he didn't want to do that because that would make him look bad. But now then we see, I think, that if the message is getting through that it's not going to work, and I can tell you for certain that members of the military, members of the intelligence community, and other even members of his administration were all telling him that this would not work. Don't try it because it will harm us even more. Now that's worked for this weekend, but whether that's going to work next weekend, who knows? Because we've been through this, in and out kind of situation for a while now.
Lieutenant David, speaking of diplomacy, Pakistan positioned itself as a mediator earlier this year, and now there's no mention of the country anywhere. So do you think the country has been sidelined, or was its role never central to begin with?
Well, I certainly think that it was when it came to the MOU. I mean, they were central to that. They were, one of the biggest mediators for it. But I think that this transcends any kind of a mediated effort. I mean, you see our direct ally, Saudi Arabia, is basically pleading with President Trump not to go further with the attacks. And so at this point, because there's no negotiations going on, so there's really no role for Pakistan or Oman or anybody else like that to play in terms of between the United States and Iran. Because the ceasefire is over, according to President Trump. There are no negotiations, according to the Iranian side, so there's nothing to mediate right now. We have to hope we can get back into a mediating situation so that somebody like Pakistan can actually play a role.
Yes. So, point taken. Just last question before we let you go. Reports suggest that the military arsenal of US has been depleting. Talking about that vis-a-vis the kind of support that Iran has been receiving from Russia with respect to the intel inputs and from China now, it's said that China is going to be providing Iran with missiles. Do you think those are also the pressure points that probably pushed President Trump to the negotiating table?
It's a combination of all that. I've seen a lot of the press reports. There's evidence that Iran is getting targeting intelligence, whether from China or from Russia, who can say, but it's something that's different from what it was earlier in the war, much more effective, much more timely, to where they can get targets of opportunity and have ordnance on target when things are moving. That almost certainly is either a Russia or a China, or who knows, maybe both. That combined with, you had the U.S. European Command General Grinkowicz this past week, a report from the Washington Post was leaked that said he told the president, hey, I don't have enough naval forces right now to actually even defend both U.S. and Israeli interest in the Middle East. I need another destroyer, I believe it was. That's about a few days after we had reports that the vice president and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff were telling President Trump we don't have enough interceptor missiles or offensive missiles to continue this much further. And by the way, those aren't going to work to make Iran give in. So there's no point in expending them. And I think all that together finally got through to President Trump. But the thing is, all that was true on Friday when he was ready to unleash all this holy hell, as some were calling it. So again, we don't know what that's going to do after, more people come back to him this week. So next weekend, we could be right back in this same dangerous spot.
Yes, point taken, sir. And of course, remains to be seen whether we see any headway or not, or whether the negotiations will again fall flat, that is, as we've seen all this while. But appreciate you speaking to WION.
Always my pleasure.
Moving on now, Russia and Ukraine, they continue to strike and exchange heavy fire with long-range strikes escalating far beyond the front lines.
It was another deadly weekend for both the countries as the war claimed as many as 14 lives on both the sides on Sunday. According to officials, Ukrainian attacks on Russia killed at least 9, while Russian attacks on Ukraine left as many as 5 people dead.
Swarms of drones launched overnight by Ukraine struck Russia's Belgorod region, which borders Ukraine, and 4 people, including a 13-year-old girl, were killed in the attack.
In a separate drone strike, 2 people were killed in Russia's Saratov region, while 3 others died after a strike targeted a car in the Udmurtia region, more than 1,000 kilometers from the front lines.
Now, Ukrainian forces have intensified long-range strikes deep inside Russia, increasingly targeting economic and energy infrastructure in an effort to weaken Moscow's capacity to sustain its more than 4-year-long war. But despite the escalating attacks, Russia's military campaign appears largely undeterred.
In Ukraine, Russian strikes killed 2 people in the eastern region of Dnipropetrovsk and at least 1 person each in the southern regions of Zaporizhia and Kherson. Also, a separate strike destroyed a postal terminal in northern Kharkiv region that killed a postal worker.
While Russia has upped the ante in Ukraine, according to Ukrainian Air Force, Russia fired a record 376 missiles at Ukraine in July, which is double the total launch in June, with most targeted at Kyiv.
Moscow is apparently seeking to expose Kiev's shortages of key defense systems as it struggles to make advances along the vast front line. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has renewed his plea to Western nations to provide much-needed air defense systems to protect the country's cities and critical infrastructure from aerial attacks by Russia.
Ukraine is also facing a shortage of US-made interceptors for Patriots, which is the only defense system that can bring down certain advanced ballistic missiles.
Meanwhile, US-led talks to end the war have been effectively frozen since February, when the US and Israel launched joint strikes on Iran.
However, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio believes that Washington would, in the coming weeks, seek to restart negotiations.
Now, you're going to see some efforts over the next few weeks to see if we can't restart talks between the 2 sides and bring this war to an end. But we also understand that both sides have some pretty strong red lines. And until we can bring those red lines a little closer together, we're not going to be there yet. But we're ready to go, and the president's told his team, if you see an opportunity to be a force that brings about some momentum behind peace talks, let's do it.
The Trump administration has been stepping up its efforts and partnering with the private sector to develop next-generation military capabilities.
An initiative centered on innovation hubs or incubators has been designed to accelerate the development of American-made drones and counter-drone systems. Trump did not make any formal announcement himself, but shared a link on his Truth Social account by pasting the headline of a news article, thus confirming the news.
The goal, according to the White House, is to equip the US forces with advanced first-person view drones while strengthening defenses against rapidly evolving aerial threats.
One such anti-drone technology that has emerged is SpaceX's Morpheus counter-unmanned aerial system, which combines advanced radio frequency signal processing, artificial intelligence, and quantum-resistant security to detect, classify, and neutralize airborne threats within seconds.
This renewed push comes amid growing concerns over the expanding role of drones in modern conflicts. The ongoing war from Russia and Ukraine, as well as a conflict in West Asia, has seen the importance of drones in carrying out strategic strikes on the enemy. These unmanned systems have transformed surveillance and precision strike capabilities.
Now, the Trump administration also seeks strong backing from the Congress for defense spending, which is focused on drone warfare, warning that future threats extend beyond overseas battlefields.
Officials of United States cite the risk posed to airports, public gatherings, critical infrastructure, and prisons, where drones are increasingly being used for surveillance, smuggling, and even potential terror attacks. The initiative also highlights Washington's efforts to stay ahead of the rapidly changing and evolving drone technology while strengthening homeland security against emerging airborne threats.
Well, this summer, wildfires sweep across Europe, fueled by extreme heat, strong winds and dry conditions.
Blazes hit Greece, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy and several other countries, with thousands of people who were evacuated as well, as firefighters still have been struggling to contain those blazes.
Now, scientists say climate change increases the frequency and intensity of such events. A major wildfire in northwest of Athens led to more than 100 homes destroyed. Another fire triggered evacuations on the island of Kefalonia. 3 firefighters died battling separate blazes in Crete and the Peloponnese in July. Authorities also ordered evacuations on the island of Lesbos.
In Spain, in the northeast part of the country, where residents were forced to evacuate, some even told to stay indoors, and led to road closures as well, flames burned more than 2,300 hectares around the town of La Bisbal. A deadly blaze in Almeria killed several people and left others missing in Aragon. A fire in Ors consumed more than 15,000 hectares.
Thousands of campers were evacuated in southern France as fires scorched thousands of hectares near the Spanish border. Another blaze reached the Fontainebleau forest south of Paris. In Portugal, fires spread across multiple municipalities. Nearly 1,000 firefighters were deployed to tackle the Portuguese blaze.
We must understand that we are facing a completely unprecedented wildfire. The situation we are dealing with today is the most severe we have ever recorded, the toughest since the Second World War. More than 160,000 hectares have already burned, and the season is far from over.
In Italy, more than 100 people were evacuated from a town in Sicily. A wildfire on Croatia's island burned woodland before rain provided some relief. Parallelly, in Turkey, more than 1,000 people were evacuated from residential areas, with firefighters, waterbombing aircraft and even emergency crews that were deployed across the region. Authorities have warned that high temperatures could spark new fires in these regions.
In United Kingdom, a massive fire broke out. Residents were evacuated as the fire spread across about 100 hectares. In Norway, more than 100 homes were destroyed by fire near Drammen.
Europe, meanwhile, has experienced successive heat waves and below-average rainfall this summer. The latest wildfires have renewed concerns about climate resilience across Europe. Now, tech billionaire Elon Musk is preparing to play a major role in this year's US midterm elections.
Reports suggest that he plans to invest heavily through his super PAC, America PAC, to boost Republican voter turnout ahead of November. Political Action Committee, or PAC, is a group that pools money to support or oppose political candidates.
Also, according to reports, America PAC will focus on door-to-door outreach, digital advertising and direct mail campaigns. The effort will thus target Republican-leaning voters, especially those who do not usually vote in midterm elections.
Earlier, the New York Times reported that Musk has approved between $100 million and $120 million for a new field operation across several states. The campaign is expected to support Republican candidates in key Senate races in Alaska, Iowa, Maine, Michigan, and Ohio. America PAC is also reportedly considering spending in North Carolina and Texas. The group is expected to work alongside other Republican organizations as well.
Musk's reported investment would add to the Republican Party's already strong campaign funds ahead of the elections. He played a much bigger role in the 2024 elections. America PAC spent more than $250 million supporting Trump's re-election bid.
However, his relationship with Trump has not always been smooth. The two had a public falling out last year, and Musk even suggested he might launch a third political party. But despite their past disagreements, reports now suggest Musk has been in contact with Trump's team to discuss ways he can help Republicans in the upcoming midterm elections. Slipping into a short break, but we'll return with another edition of World DNA. Stay tuned to WION World is One. Thanks for watching.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm ready.
Welcome back. This is World DNA. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. With me is Kripa. Let's begin with the headlines.
It was going to be a massive attack. It was going to be attacked, but would have been by far the biggest attack since World War II.
US President Donald Trump says he decided US President Donald Trump says he decided to call off new strikes against Iran at the urging of Gulf allies Qatar, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates.
Iran says Strait of Hormuz will in no way return to its pre-war status, adding that a deal with Oman over a new route through the strait does not mean the reopening of Hormuz Strait.
Venezuela's imprisoned former leader Nicolas Maduro sends message welcoming any path to dialogue ahead of an upcoming meeting of government and opposition leaders. Maduro is awaiting trial on drug and firearms trafficking charges in New York.
Suspect arrested in death of a UK woman whose body was found in a suitcase in Athens this month. Police say that 26-year-old man, identified in media reports as an Afghan national, has confessed his actions.
At least 14 people killed as Russia and Ukraine continue to exchange strikes. Ukrainian attacks on Russia killed at least 9 people on Sunday, while Russian attacks on Ukraine killed at least 5.
Spanish officials say at least 72 people died during the recent mass influx of migrants into its Ceuta exclave from Morocco, while Moroccan officials present a lower figure of just 11 deaths.
A suicide bombing has killed at least 15 people in Pakistan's Swat Valley. The bomb was struck outside a police station in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, while hundreds of people were taking part in a protest there.
Flood situation in Assam remains serious, with more than 135,000 people currently affected in 5 districts. At least 85 people have died so far due to the calamity.
Oil prices plunged more than 4% to below $84 per barrel as easing West Asia tensions boosted hopes of a supply recovery. Markets reacted after US-Iran talks were announced, lowering geopolitical risk and reducing fears of disruption in the Strait of Hormuz. Relentless monsoon rains have triggered widespread devastation across India.
Well, from the northeast to the southern and even the northern states, rescue teams and local authorities have been racing against time to assist people affected by the rising floodwaters.
In Assam, the flood situation remains a major concern. 85 lives have been lost so far, while rescue teams continue efforts to reach communities cut off by floodwaters.
According to Assam Disaster Management Authority, the situation has shown some improvement, with the number of affected people falling from 1.92 lakh to around 1.78 lakh at present. However, 349 villages across 5 districts are still dealing with the impact of floods.
In Kerala, heavy rains have led to 8 deaths, 13 injuries and 8 people being reported missing. Several areas have witnessed landslides, flooding and even waterlogging. More than 5,700 people have been shifted to 209 relief camps.
Gujarat is also recovering from the destruction caused by intense rainfall. More than 27,856 people have been moved to safer locations due to floods. In Valsad district, firefighters rescued 3 people who were trapped near the Auranga river. All 3 were brought to safety after a distress call.
In Jammu and Kashmir, a cloud burst in Kishtwar district triggered flash floods, damaging 2 houses and 2 shops and sweeping away 2 vehicles. Mud, rocks and slush flooded the main market and blocked the Kishtwar-Chatru-Sinthan National Highway. The route was later restored.
In Himachal Pradesh, the state has been facing its own set of challenges. Landslides and flash floods have forced the closure of 102 roads across the state. The Mandi district accounts for the highest number of closures with 43 roads blocked, followed by Kullu with 33. The rains have also disrupted 28 water supply schemes and 11 power transformers across the state. A yellow alert for heavy rainfall in isolated areas remains in place until 7th of August. Well, the protest by JPSC and JSSC aspirants in Jharkhand has entered its 9th day as hundreds of candidates still continue with their sit-in at Jaipal Singh Munda Stadium in Ranchi.
The protesters carried out march through the streets of the city and demanded a CBI investigation into the alleged paper leak and irregularities in the recruitment exams.
The aspirants who are now protesting claim the integrity of the selection process has been compromised and insisted that only an independent investigation can restore the confidence of the public. The protesters demanded strict action against the people responsible for the alleged malpractice and greater transparency in further recruitment processes.
Meanwhile, the Cockroach Janata Party extended its support to the protesting students. Abhijit Dipke, the founder of the CJP, expressed his support to the protesters via a social media post on X, stating that he spoke to the students who are protesting and that the CJP stands with them and supported their demands.
With the agitation showing no signs of slowing down, pressure has only been mounting on the state government to respond to aspirants' demands and announce concrete measures to address concerns over fairness and accountability in the recruitment system altogether.
Shifting our focus to Bangladesh now, former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is expected to make her first public appearance this week. This is exactly 2 years after being ousted from office.
Well, adding to that, Kripa, according to organizers, Sheikh Hasina is likely to address an event virtually at the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia in New Delhi, that is on 5th of August. And that if it does take place, it would actually mark her first public speech since she fled Bangladesh on exactly the same date in 2024.
Hasina left Bangladesh after nationwide protests against her government. Remember, the unrest left hundreds dead and ultimately led to the collapse of her government.
Since relocating to India, Sheikh Hasina has largely stayed out of public view. Over the past 2 months, however, she has issued a series of statements and interviews. In those interactions, she has described her removal as unconstitutional and alleged that members of her Awami League have faced political persecution. In one of her latest interviews, Hasina said that she plans to return to Bangladesh later this year, despite fearing for her life.
Well, relations between India and Bangladesh strained under the interim administration that took power after Hasina's fall. They have stabilized since Bangladeshi Prime Minister Tariq Rahman took office in February.
Well, Bangladesh has formally sought her extradition in connection with multiple criminal cases filed after the change in government. India has acknowledged receiving communications from Dhaka, but has not publicly indicated any decision on the extradition request. In other news then, at least 5 people have died and 225 people have been rescued so far.
while 41 others remain missing after a passenger ferry carrying 271 people caught fire while crossing the Java Sea. The ferry was travelling from Surabaya in East Java to Makassar in South Sulawesi. This is when the fire broke out, and Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency says the captain alerted the ferry company after reporting flames on board as the vessel continued its voyage across the Java Sea.
Emergency crews supported by nearby vessels rushed to the scene as passengers and crew were evacuated from the burning ship. The cause of the fire has not yet been determined, and officials have launched an investigation into the incident. Rescue operations still remain the top priority as hopes persist of finding more survivors. Indonesian authorities say that the search will continue until every missing passenger has been accounted for.
A suicide bombing has killed at least 15 people in northern Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province.
Well, this attack, Kripa, took place near a police station in Swat district during a peaceful protest march. More than 20 people have sustained injuries as a part of the crackdown.
Police say the bomber tried to enter the police station at Busy Chowk area. Officers stopped the attacker at the main gate, and moments later the bomber detonated the explosives. 8 police officers were among the 15 people killed. Police say another body recovered from the scene and is believed to be that of the suicide bomber.
Kabul at around 6 p.m. this blast took place. A suicide bomber who wanted to enter the police headquarters. When the police tried to stop him, he blew himself up. As a result, our brave police soldiers and civilians have been martyred.
The blast happened near the border with Afghanistan. The region has reportedly seen a rise in militant attacks in recent years. Pakistani authorities have been battling an insurgency by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, also known as the TTP. No group has claimed responsibility for the suicide bombing so far. Security has been tightened across the area as Pakistani agencies have launched an investigation.
Pakistan has previously alleged that violent militant activities in border provinces are emanating from Afghanistan. However, the Taliban government in Kabul denies Afghan involvement in any militant attacks across Pakistan. Now, American consumers are once again facing rising gasoline prices, but unlike previous months, this year they have that financial cushion to absorb the very shock.
Now, average US pump prices have also climbed back above $4 a gallon after surging more than 50% in the days following the US and Israel's attack on Iran. The difference this time is that the tax refund season is finally over. Earlier in the year, many households were able to offset higher fuel bills with larger federal tax refunds. Internal Revenue Service data showed the average refund increased 11.5% to $3,276, helped by provisions under President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Those payments supported consumer spending even as energy prices climbed.
Well, now that buffer has disappeared, with refunds largely distributed by June, households must rely on savings or even cut spending elsewhere to cope with higher fuel costs. The pressure essentially comes at a time when consumers have already been grappling with elevated grocery prices and the lingering effects of inflation.
Despite these challenges, the U.S. economy showed resilience in the second quarter. Inflation-adjusted consumer spending, which accounts for roughly 2/3 of U.S. economic activity, it grew at an annualized 3.2%, helping lift overall economic growth above expectations.
However, signs of strain are emerging. The U.S. personal saving rate fell in June to its lowest level since 2022, thereby reducing households' ability to absorb another jump in essential expenses. Gasoline prices, for that matter, are being driven largely not only by higher crude oil costs, but also account for more than half of the price at the pump, but also by tight fuel supplies, U.S. refineries, and refiners have increasingly prioritized diesel and jet fuel, products enjoying stronger global demand and higher margins, thereby leaving gasoline supplies unusually low across US.
For millions of Americans, especially low-income households with smaller tax refunds, the impact is immediate. Higher fuel bills leave less money for groceries, savings and discretionary purchases.
With geopolitical tensions continuing to fuel volatility in oil markets, consumers may now find it increasingly difficult to maintain spending levels that have supported the US economy so far this year.
The shareholders of Zee Entertainment Enterprises Limited, Zee, have cleared the proposals related to fundraising and the employee stock option plan.
While shareholders approved the proposals related to fundraising and the employee stock option plan, which is EESOP, at the extraordinary general meeting held on 31st of July.
The approval has cleared the way to increase the promoter shareholding in the company to 23.79%, and according to the company, the capital will be used to further strengthen its financial position while safeguarding the interests of all shareholders.
The company also said that it has received the latest SEBI order and it is seeking legal advice on it. Additionally, it said that it will take all required steps to successfully execute the fundraising exercise.
Well, modern warfare is definitely changing rapidly as artificial intelligence and autonomous systems become an increasingly important part of the battlefield.
Well, at this year's Farnborough International Air Show, defense companies showcased the latest AI-powered technologies, with many of them shaped by lessons from the war in Ukraine. Take a look at the special report.
The Farnborough International Air Show has long been known for showcasing the latest developments in aviation and defense. This year, however, one section of the exhibition drew particular attention. Ukrainian defense companies used the event to demonstrate technologies that have been shaped directly by the ongoing war with Russia. Artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and combat drones were at the center of those displays. Many of these systems are no longer experimental prototypes. They are already being used by Ukrainian forces in active combat. The technologies reflect how rapidly warfare is changing, with software becoming just as important as hardware. One of the companies attracting attention was Ukrainian defense manufacturer Skyfall. The company unveiled its largest interceptor drone called the P-1 Sunjet Killer. The drone has been specifically designed to counter one of Ukraine's biggest aerial threats, Russia's jet-powered Shahid attack drones. The P-1 Sun can fly at speeds of up to 370 kilometers per hour. It can remain airborne for around 15 minutes, operate within a range of approximately 30 kilometers, and fly at altitudes of up to 9,000 meters. The drone also carries an explosive payload designed specifically for aerial interception. Beyond its physical performance, the interceptor also incorporates artificial intelligence. The drone can be equipped with an AI-assisted targeting module. Rather than replacing the operator, the software helps identify, track, and continuously monitor a fast-moving target during the final stage of interception. According to Skyfall, the AI system can maintain target tracking at distances of up to 1 kilometer, giving operators valuable seconds during engagements where reaction time is critical.
Well, after 11 days of exhilarating and pulsating sporting action in Glasgow, curtains have come down on the 2026 Commonwealth Games.
In a glittering closing ceremony, what happened was Scotland handed over the Commonwealth Games flag and the ceremonial baton to India, which will be hosting the 2030 centenary edition in Ahmedabad.
Well, India's Olympic gold medalist Neeraj Chopra, Indian Olympic Association IOA President PT Usha and Gujarat Deputy Chief Minister Harsh Sanghvi received the Commonwealth Games flag and baton as part of the official handover ceremony.
Meanwhile, lights, colour and a fusion of traditions blended with music and dance lit up the arena in Glasgow as part of the closing ceremony.
The magnum opus of the ceremony was Jugal Bandi, which saw a unique Indo-Scottish cultural collaboration that brought dancers and musicians of India and Scotland for a very special performance, which showcased the passing of baton from Glasgow to Ahmedabad.
Leading the Indian contingent into the closing ceremony was none other than the boxing world champion and the newly crowned gold medalist, Jasmine Lamboria. The 24-year-old was named the country's official flag bearer for the closing ceremony.
On the sporting front, India finished fourth in the Commonwealth Games with a total of 39 medals, which includes 13 gold, 17 silver and 9 bronze medals.
Indian boxers landed the jabs, the hooks, the crosses and the uppercuts in the right places, earning them a record 10 medals. Both men and women boxers showed that it was not about how hard of a hit you can give, but how hard of a hit you can take and keep moving forward.
Well, the quick feet and outstretched arms of the Indian athletes also added another 10 medals to the overall tally, while the weightlifters also flexed the right muscles, powering them to 8 medals. On the other hand, para-athletics also saw 6 medals, while judo and para-powerlifting saw 4 and 1 medal respectively.
From the world of entertainment now, the Hollywood box office is currently witnessing a fascinating spread of performance.
Well, the standout moment belongs to Tom Holland's fourth standalone outing, that is, as Peter Parker. The movie has enjoyed a global opening weekend of $927 million. The credit for this largely goes to the early release, which the movie enjoyed in markets like China and India. It is performing exceptionally well in India, where it has amassed approximately 227 crore rupees in just first 3 days itself. That is nearly $27.3 million. In China, parallelly, the movie has earned $121 million during its extended 5-day opening weekend.
Christopher Nolan's latest directorial, The Odyssey, continues to demonstrate impressive staying power. In its third week of release, the film earned $51 million in North America and $395.5 million from international markets. Presently, The Odyssey has earned as much as $911.4 million at the global box office.
Also, Minions and Monsters is holding its own in a competitive summer market. The film has collected a worldwide total of $450 million. It is currently a benchmark set by its predecessors. The original Minions film grossed $1.16 billion across the globe. Minions and Monsters is part of Despicable Me franchise, which recently crossed $5 billion mark across the globe.
The live-action reimagining of Moana has seen a worldwide box office collection of approximately $241.6 million. Directed by Thomas Kail, it is made on a reported production budget of $250 million. This represents a significant underperformance for the studio, especially given the immense popularity of the 2016 animated original and its 2024 sequel, which grossed over $1 billion.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. Our news and updates to continue. But before we go, here's a look at images drawing our attention from across the globe.
alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Know more? Understand better? Think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Adya Juneja and this is Speed News. Let's start with all the stories making headlines today. US President Donald Trump said that he decided not to carry out new strikes against Iran after the request from Gulf allies like Qatar, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. The US President added that a plan was in place for US forces to